Hey everyone, welcome to Fighting Over the Card Catalog, a snarky look back on young adult novels of the 80s and 90s. I'm Jess.
I'm Steven, and I'm here to make my wife happy.
We are taking a journey to find out how many terrible and hopefully some not so terrible books from my youth I can get my husband to read before he reconsiders this whole marriage. Hello?
Hello.
It's a ghost! Hello. How have you been in the last 2 days since we recorded?
Busy and stressed.
Yeah. But it's okay. We're going to go get our drink on this weekend because my oldest goddaughter's 21st birthday party. We're doing it up.
A field party.
Pasture party.
A pasture party.
We're doing it up East Texas style.
A pasture party.
Past your party?
Pasture.
Yeah. I want to say pasture.
A pastor party is something that...
Oh, pastor?
is something that
no.
churches have.
Wait, that's a thing?
No.
Okay.
Maybe.
I didn't know. It might be some weird Baptist shit.
Maybe when he gets the wine in for the...
Mm. Okay, so this week's... I have no transition whatsoever. Nope, nothing. So this week we read Bunnicula by Deborah and James Howe, published in 1979. Tell us about it.
Move over, Dracula. It looked like an ordinary bunny to Harold, but Harold was a dog by profession, so his judgment wasn't reliable, as he was the first to admit. But Chester, Harold's good friend and housemate, was a very well-read cat, and he knew there was something strange about Bunnicula. For one thing, he seemed to have fangs, and the odd markings on his back looked a little like a cape. But when Chester started finding white vegetables drained dry with 2 fang marks in them, he was sure Bunnicula was a vampire bunny. So it was up to Chester, with Harold's help, to alert the members of their household before another carrot was lost. Because as Chester warned, today vegetables, tomorrow the world. Tomorrow the world!
There it is. I love this book.
That's very good. So I recall as I was reading it that I had read it before.
Yeah.
But like I told you, it may have been 40 years ago.
Right. You don't remember reading it to your kids or anything? Or them reading it?
No.
That's too bad. It's a very good book.
I would say it was probably sometime early in school, like 1st or 2nd grade. So that would have been, around
the time it was published.
Pretty damn close to 40 years ago.
Yeah. It was published in 79. So
right.
It would have been 7.
Yeah, so probably was around 81 or so.
Yeah. So this is probably the most juvenile book we've read, I think.
Yeah, possibly.
But I think it's the best narrator we've ever had in Harold.
Yeah, very good.
I love Harold with my whole heart. So on a scale of 1 to best book ever to Dementor's Kiss of 10.
Okay, so this is scaled on like what we've read in the past as well. So
okay,
I'll give it a 2.
Me too. Yeah. Whew, so much better than last time. Yeah, rating it as for what it is, a very small kids book. Yeah, it's definitely a 2 because it's still enjoyable.
Yeah.
Now.
And I like the cat being smart and witty.
Yeah.
And it was good. And it was like a light thing. It wasn't really trying to scare you.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was reading something about it online, and there was a question. I can't remember what I was looking up, but there was a question of, is Bunnicula... I was looking at how many chapters it had because of how I listed it. Anyway, the question was, is Bunnicula scary? And really, no, not at any point was it actually scary.
Well, I found one part upsetting.
Yeah?
We'll get to it.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get...
So I listened to this book on YouTube. And So this lady had the first 5 chapters. I didn't know how many chapters were in the book, and so I got.
And I mean, it was only 9.
I got finished with chapter 5, and I was like, "That's not the end of the story." And she didn't have the rest of the chapters.
How could you do that to your
So
viewers?
the next person I listened to was horrible. She was a grown woman who could barely read.
Should I link it in the show notes? No, I'm just kidding. I won't. That's too mean. I can't do it.
I don't think so.
You can probably find it if you want to. But then you were able to finish it, right?
Yeah. So like the chapter 6, there was like 2,800 people who had viewed it, and chapter 7. There was 80 people had viewed it. So
the horrible woman.
I had already downloaded it, so that's why I went ahead and listened to it. But I was like, after hearing the first one, I'm like, okay, I understand why there was only 80 people.
Oh, that's so sad. But you finished it with someone else.
Yes.
Okay, so you know what happens. Good. So we're introduced to the Monroes, mom and dad, and the boys, Pete and Toby, and they come home. I have totally lost my mouth. Okay, they come home from a night out at the movies. Come home to our narrator Harold, a very good dog, and Chester. I mean, he's a pretty good cat, but he's very smart and well read. He prides himself on that. And the Monroes, they're our kind of people. I love them very much because Harold says, "At this point, I feel I must explain something. In our family, everyone treats everyone else with great respect for his or her intelligence. That goes for the animals as well as the people. Everything that happens to them is explained to us. It's never been just, 'Good boy, Harold,' or 'Use the litter box, Chester,' at our house. Oh no, with us it's, 'Hey Harold, Dad got a raise and now we're in a higher tax bracket.' Or 'Come sit on the bed, Chester, and watch this Wild Kingdom show. Maybe you'll see a relative.' Which shows you just how thoughtful they are."
Nice.
Yeah, that's our kind of people. That's what our house is pretty much like. And from Chester's kittenhood on, Mr. Monroe has used him as a sounding board for all his student lectures. If Chester doesn't fall asleep when Mr. Monroe is talking, the lecture can be counted a success.
Except our animals never actually pitch in when we ask them to pitch in and do some work.
No.
Even picking stuff off the floor.
Millie was a massive failure this evening trying. No, she didn't try to pick up that piece of paper. She just licked it. She'll lick anything. Library books are her favorite. So Harold notices that they come in with a very small bundle that turns out to be a rabbit that one of the boys sat on at the theater. And he's got a note tied around his neck, written in ancient Carpathian dialect. And Harold can read it because he has Russian wolfhound in his blood. So roughly translated, it says, "Take good care of my baby." Aww. We never learned anymore. But there's like 5 books in the series. Did you know that?
No, I don't think I did.
Yeah, I didn't know that before either. So now I want to read them. Maybe we find out who left them there. Anyways, the rabbit has 2 tiny fangs and a black pattern on his back that looks like a cape. And after some discussion, the family decides to adopt him. And since they found him while they were seeing Dracula, they name him Bunnicula. And the boys were like, "No, he has to have a name right now." And Harold's like, "Yeah, they do." He does, because it took them 3 days to name him, and he couldn't sleep at all. And he was worried they were going to call him Fluffy. Which Mrs. Monroe tried to name the bunny, too. So, shortly after they bring him into the family notices vegetables turning white. And they think it's some kind of not a plague. What's it called?
Blight.
Thank you. There's like, yeah, this is a weird white dry tomato. And Chester notices that each of the vegetables that have turned white are 2 tiny holes. So Chester reads this book on vampires called Mark of the Vampire. And I looked that up. I couldn't find it as a book, but it is a 1935 Bela Lugosi film.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, and Lionel Barrymore. Like, it's probably pretty good. We should watch it. Do you find vampires scary? Not the Twilight kind.
Yeah, a little. I've seen a couple of things, and I've read a lot of Anne Rice. There was a period of time when it was before the whole, what'd you just say? Which series?
Twilight.
Yeah, it was before the Twilight stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, but there was a lot of vampire books in her series, and some of them were kind of intense.
Yeah. I just liked Interview with a Vampire because I wanted to be Claudia.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
And live forever as a vampire?
Not really.
No?
No, I just really like the dresses in her hair. Yeah.
Dresses in her hair.
Yeah. I mean, I was like the same age as Kirsten Dunst, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when that came out, it was pretty cool. Anyway. So Chester reads this book and he becomes convinced that Bunnicula is indeed a vampire. He thinks this because Bunnicula sleeps all day and apparently can get out of his cage all on his own, and those tiny fangs that Chester believes he uses to suck those vegetables dry. And Chester's all like, no, not Chester. Harold's all like, I saw Mrs. Monroe bite Mr. Monroe on the neck once. Does that mean she's a vampire?
I chuckled at that.
Okay, Mrs. Monroe, get it.
and then the next line was good too.
Oh, I don't have it. What was it?
It was something like whatever profession it was. It was like
she's a lawyer. She's
a lawyer. They bite people on the neck.
I don't think I picked up on that exactly. When I read it as a kid. So after this discussion, they hear a noise in the kitchen, but they are not able to exactly catch Bunnicula in the act, but they do see his little white tail hopping away, and then find a white zucchini in the kitchen on the floor. And then the next morning, the whole table's covered with his handiwork. There were white beans and white peas and white squash and white tomatoes and white lettuce and white zucchini. They have a lot of vegetables in their house. It's admirable. So Chester tries to tell the family that Bunnicula is a vampire by putting a towel around his neck and trying to act it out, but they just think he's drunk. Oh.
Which means there must have been a history.
Probably so.
Running around with a toga or something.
Chester is a frat boy. But speaking of which, though, fashion alert. Chester, they assume he's cold maybe because of the towel. And so they put on his bright yellow sweater with little purple mice and cowboy hats all over it. That was a good one. Claudia would totally wear that, right?
Yeah.
So he's horribly embarrassed by all this bullshit. But he's got a new plan. So he puts garlic like all over himself and around Bunnicula's cage and just all over the place. And it smells terrible. And it only succeeds in having to have a bath. Hey pals, we're going to begin adding the podcast business here in the middle and get it out of the way. So, hey, if you've been enjoying our show, please share it, tweet it, tell your friends and enemies. Word of mouth is the best way for podcasts to grow, and we would just really appreciate it. I know if you're listening, you probably have some bookworm friends from back in the day who would love to reminisce with us. Please consider rating us on Apple Podcasts and subscribing there, or at any of your favorite podcast places of choice. Come hang out with us on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, YouTube, Pinterest, all at Fighting Over the Card Catalog, and on Twitter at Card Catalog Pod, and me, personally, at Just Digress. And last but not least, check out our website where you can find all the things I just mentioned. later, they read about killing vampires with a stake through the heart. So, because they're having steak that evening, Chester's all like, let's go get it and punch this steak through the sleeping rabbit's heart. And it's a pretty terrible scene. It doesn't do anything but confuse just everybody. And Chester gets in trouble. Oh, well, he tries another thing to throw water on poor Bunnicula from his water dish, and that just gets Harold wet, and Chester's locked outside.
And then Harold gets the steak.
But Harold gets the steak because it's all dirty from being on the floor.
And Chester's not talking to him.
Yeah, he doesn't talk to him for like a whole chapter. Yeah, that part got me. When, Mrs. Monroe says to one of the boys, yeah, put the steak out to defrost after you get home from school on the table. I wish we could leave food out like that.
No way.
Not a chance in hell.
Not a chance.
No. So I thought we'd talk about Millie here. So
we literally have to push food to the back of the counter.
Mm-hmm. She's the biggest counter server I've ever met.
Because she can't quite jump up. She's not a good...
Her butt's too big.
Yeah. So, she doesn't jump into the car. You have to pick her... You can put her front feet up and then pull her up. But, yeah, she has been known, in my time with her, to eat tons and tons.
Yeah. So, for my bestie's 40th birthday, we had a big, huge Fiesta 40 party for her. And so a few days before, I was making pork to make tamales with, and I went outside to the garage, talked to you for a minute. And I came back in, and that pot was down on the floor. There was water and pork spilled everywhere on the ceiling. She pulled it down. It was boiling, by the way. I can't believe maybe it was simmering at that point, but it was hot. And yeah, I can't believe they didn't.
And she had eaten a lot of it by that time.
Quite a bit of it.
Another time we made brown rice and turkey.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, she ripped through that whole thing.
And she ate a week's worth of food in one sitting.
Her stomach was so distended.
Yeah.
But don't forget, from that party too, the night before, I was trying to make a 4-layer pinata cake.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you started crying.
I did start crying because I put them out, to cool. And then I think I went in the front room to talk to you. And yeah, she had taken bites out of them. And I ended up, for a 4-layer cake, I think I ended up making 10. Because some didn't turn out. But then Millie ate like half. She's terrible, but I love her so much.
When you were gone, I had...
Oh, yeah. This is the worst.
I had eaten chicken and put, the box up on the side table and went and did something and came back, and the box was completely empty on the floor. She ate all the bones.
I can't believe she's still alive. She's never gotten sick from any of the things she's eaten. She's like a goat. Greatest of all time. No. Greatest of all time. Counter surfer. Anyway. Harold's a much better boy. Harold reminds me of Little Man.
Yeah, Little Man had a couple of episodes where he ate stuff off the counter, but he got in trouble pretty bad.
Yeah.
And so he learned very quickly.
See, that's the thing.
And he was caught in the act, so...
Oh.
Yeah.
Millie's never caught in the act. But she's very, very smart, and she gets in trouble, but she doesn't care.
I've caught her at least once in the act.
Oh.
And she's gotten a spanking.
Yeah.
But she still does it. She
still does it.
Yeah.
Because we think she was probably out on the streets before I adopted her from the shelter, so we think she's got a big foraging...
She's got this instinct to eat whenever she finds food.
Yeah. But she is easy to train with food because she's very food motivated.
Yeah.
Just not from getting from the counter.
Yeah, so I would...
She's a chunky girl.
I taught little man to sit and shake and lay down and stand up. And
hey, she'll do all those too.
She learned very quickly, watching little man and just a little bit of coaching. And then it got to where she just wanted to go through everything really fast. Yeah. So even before you tell her the command, she'd do...
No, she will still.
Yeah, she'd sit down, put up her hand, lay down, and then bark at you.
Still putting his butt on the floor.
And then bark at you. Yeah. Come on, I've done it.
Yep, did all the things. Time for Doritos. I love her with my whole heart. She is my girlfriend. We didn't talk about Luna at all. Luna will snatch shit off her plate. Don't trust her. Jesus.
She has. Just right with you right there.
She has no shame.
And she'll grab it quick. She'll snatch it quick and then just gobble. Because she knows she's going to get in trouble.
I love our dogs. And I love Harold. So there are a few more days of white vegetables, but soon even that stops. And Harold just, since he's not talking to Chester, he's, not cooperating with any of Chester's plans. And so Harold begins to take a liking to Bunnicula, and it's very sweet. They, cuddle up and snooze together, and it's very sweet. Makes me happy. But after a few days, he notices that Bunnicula is starting to look ill. And so he stays up one night and discovers that fucking Chester is putting on garlic and then blocking Bunnicula from feeding, starving the poor rabbit. That's where I got upset. I feel so bad for this poor starving little bunny. What is that? Fuck you, Chester. So you read this on the back of the book when Chester goes, "Today vegetables, tomorrow the world." Harold goes, "I think perhaps you're overstating your case." So Harold decides to do something about all this. And so that evening before Chester wakes up and before dinner, he has to check on where everybody is. He's got this all planned out very nicely. But he takes Bunnicula out of his cage and puts him on the dining room table where the family's salad is all laid out. And he starts to eat, but oh no, Chester jumps in and chases him off and lands in the salad himself. And it's a big old mess. And the family's like, what the fuck? Let's take everybody to the vet. Because Bunnicula looks sick and Chester's doing weird shit. And they're like, oh, let's take Harold too. He probably needs his shot. So he's like, fuck. But at the vet, Chester was diagnosed with being emotionally overwrought. It was suggested that he start sessions with a cat psychiatrist to work out what the doctor called a case of sibling rivalry with Bunnicula. Which Harold didn't really think that's what it was, but it explained to the boys in the family. So Bunnicula is put on a vegetable, but all liquid vegetable diet. And so he takes that so well, the family's like, let's just keep him on that permanently. Which is great because that means the white vegetables stop turning up. However, they do change stores because they thought it was a vegetable blight. And so the Monroes have no idea about Bunnicula being weird and the danger that Chester believes them to be in. And Harold said, yes, Bunnicula and I have become good friends. He still doesn't say anything, but he snuggles up next to me by the fireplace and we take long, cozy snoozes together. One night I sang him a lullaby in the obscure dialect of his homeland, and he slept very peacefully. It was that night that cemented our friendship. Now, about Chester. I said that everything was back to normal. Almost. Naturally, Chester is the almost. He's been seeing the psychiatrist, Dr. Verult Katz. Oh, I just got that. I said it out loud. It's Katz. He's a cat shrink. Mm-hmm. Twice a week for some time now. He takes his therapy very seriously. And, so that's the book. But now I want to read the other ones.
Yes.
Yes.
It's better than others.
It's very funny. And, like, the best narrator we've ever had, I think. Why do you think Bunnicula didn't talk? Because he spoke a different language than
Maybe.
Chester and Harold?
Well, you would think he would still talk. Maybe he's deaf.
Maybe he's deaf. Oh, no. Yeah, maybe. Well, yeah, maybe. Because he understands things. Like, at certain points, at something, he looked at Harold and winked, just like, I got you. But he doesn't talk at all to him. Yeah. Maybe that is discussed in later books. I love rabbits. I've had 2.
Really?
Yeah. My first one was named Harvey, after the Jimmy Stewart movie in the play, where he has a big and imaginary white rabbit. And this was a white rabbit.
Okay.
You've never seen it?
Yeah, maybe I have.
Oh, it's so good. My grandfather directed the play of it at the theater.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he was a white rabbit with red eyes.
Ah.
Yeah. And then I had a pretty black and gray one named Holly, after Holly Golightly.
My grandfather raised rabbits.
But to eat.
To eat. And to sell to research facilities.
No!
Yes, he did.
No!
They were all white. Totally white.
Did they have red eyes?
They did have red eyes, yep.
Harvey had gray ears, though. Yeah.
He actually had his hand broken by rabbits before.
Good.
The males can get very strong, and their back feet can go very fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thump so hard.
Yeah. And not just thump, but thump, 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 thump.
Mm-hmm. I know. But, I mean, good. I don't blame them. They should be angry.
Yeah.
My rabbits weren't angry. But you wouldn't let us have any. You don't want to eat them.
To eat?
No.
That'd be a great source of meat.
No.
Of protein.
No.
Have rabbit stew.
No.
Be great.
No.
Brown rice and rabbit.
No.
Beans and rabbit.
No. And
all of these things sound so good to me. And all you could think of
horrific to me.
And all you could think of is
what?
It's as if we're eating one of our dogs.
Basically, yes. Yes.
Yeah, you know chickens are animals too?
I do. And I know there are some chickens. Very good chickens. Yeah.
But you eat chickens and you don't think twice about it.
Oh, I think twice about it. I have guilt.
So you would just have guilt about rabbits.
But they would be ours, you see. Or yours.
Right, gotcha.
They would live on our property. And how could there be, sweet animals on our property that I did not fall in love with?
Well,
I wouldn't be able to help it. I wouldn't be able to help it.
The breeders we have to keep, so you could keep those as pets.
Oh, but then it'd be like, oh, your progeny, we're eating it.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do it. And besides, we eat vegetarian during the week.
Right. But, rabbit is a better meat than most others. A more healthy meat. And also, like rabbit pellets, technically can be used as fertilizer right away.
The little balls.
Whereas pretty much every other fertilizer has to go through a composting cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, before it can be used as fertilizer.
And they're easily litter trained. So if that's what you're looking for, hey, pet rabbits, easy as pie to get that. Mm-hmm. We're never going to agree on that. And goats. You feel the same way about goats too, don't you?
Yeah, I don't know as much about goats, but yeah.
It's terrible. Terrible. But we couldn't have any, we can't have any small pets because we're pretty sure Millie would kill them. She would go
She has a
crazy.
very high hunting instinct.
Yeah, that foraging instinct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, we've got her. Definitely no small.
In this house, she caught a big old rat.
She did catch a rat in the backyard. That was disgusting. Because she broke his neck, but it was still alive and had to get you to kill it. Yeah. I was pretty upset about that. So imagine how I'd be with her. So, have you started reading something else in the last 2 days?
I mean, I downloaded the last of the Spy School.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
That got checked out. So I've listened to maybe 10 or 15 minutes of that, and that's about all the spare time I've had since
What's
our
the
last.
name of it?
British Invasion, I believe.
Oh, how fun.
I think.
Is it Beatles themed? That would be great.
So far, it's not.
Wow. Do they go to England?
Spy School, British Invasion. I'm assuming they do. They have not yet.
Okay. So, I was talking about that Peter Pan, Neverland, Wendy book that I was reading.
Right.
Yeah, that night I did give up on it.
Yep. She did. She said, oh, that's it.
It was just, I didn't care. I didn't care about the characters. It never showed any, times when she was happy at all in Neverland. It was just Peter being a dick. Like she said, there was good stuff, but you never saw it. So it was just Peter being a dick. And he was apparently he went into houses and watched TV and did all sorts of stuff. So he was picking up on pop culture things, and it was so irritating. Peter Pan's irritating enough without all that bullshit. And he's never nice to Wendy, and it's just yeah, so I didn't like it. So I started reading The House on Trad Street with 2 Ds by Karen White. And I got this because there's ghosts in it. This woman, she's a realtor. She can see ghosts, and then she doesn't like it. But this old man that she met once leaves her this historic house, and a housekeeper and a dog. And
an old man that she saw once.
Yeah, but her grandfather and he knew each other back in the day, and so he talked to her, and he's and she tells him, yes, she can see the ghost of his mother there. So he's yes, this is the right person, and he dies 2 days later, leaving her all this. And that's pretty much all I've gotten to. Apparently this writer comes into town and thinks there's diamonds from the Confederate treasury hidden in the house, and it turns into this whole mystery ghost murder stuff, apparently. But I'm about 15 minutes into my book too, so
nice.
Yeah, so we'll have probably moved on. Well, I don't know. I'll have probably moved on to many more by the time we record in 2 weeks again. But which will be Babysitters Club number 11, Christy and the Snobs. Okay, I know it doesn't go with our October theme.
It does not.
Of scary stuff. But the scariest thing to me, personally, me as Jess, happens in the book. So it fits.
Somebody has to publicly speak?
No.
No? All right. Somebody has a kid.
I mean, there are a lot of kids in this fucking book. Nope. You can't guess what would be the scariest thing to me?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay, you got it. I mean, it's probably not a spoiler, but okay. So yeah, but hey, you've got 2 weeks to read that. You can read it on the plane with your work buddies.
Nope.
No? No?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
What if I got you an ebook of it?
I would listen to it at some time.
Not an audiobook. They don't have it. Well, they've got it on Audible, but that's too fucking expensive.
Yeah.
Unless Audible wants to be a sponsor, then it's great.
I enjoy talking to you.
You do?
But I don't enjoy the book so much.
I know. That's the point.
Which is probably why some people like it, but it doesn't make me so excited for it.
That's the point of the show. That's our whole thing.
Right. I mean...
I love you.
I love you, obviously.
Obviously. Where are you reading the books there, John?
So you don't have to.
But you do. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
I'm sorry.